In the late 90s, at the height of the internet startup revolution, a newly minted tech millionaire co-founded a startup investment fund and incubator called Venture Frogs. The young entrepreneur had already made hundreds of thousands of dollars from his first internet startup venture. However, being young, not yet 27 at the time, he sought to do more than just retire. And so it was through one of these startups, which Venture Frog backed, which ultimately vaulted Tony Shea into the American limelight. Hey everyone, I'm Brandon, the futuristic Utopian. In case you aren't familiar with Tony Shea, even though I already told you that he was vaulted into the American limelight, he was the very outspoken CEO of the shoe company Zappos during its incredible rise to prominence throughout the early 21st century. And yes, sadly I did say he was the former CEO of Zappos. Unfortunately, he passed away in late 2020 due to complications and injuries resulted from a fire at his Connecticut home. However, during Tony's time and with his leadership, Zappos went from merely just being an idea in someone's mind to an actual company, that was bought by Amazon for over $1 billion.
How is that even possible?
Tony came of age in a rave-centered life. You know, like that scene in Cat in the Hat. Once he went to his first rave, he quickly fell in love with the plur, that is peace, love, unity, and respect for those of you who don't know. Culture that was pervasive throughout the rave scene.
So I'm going to go peace, then love, then unity, and then respect.
And it was through this ethos of peace, love, unity, and respect that Tony began imagining a place that he could build, which would perpetually emote the same feelings that he experienced at a rave. Just on a larger scale, for more people to be a part of. His idea? To construct Downtown Project, an urban environment that would represent the plur values. With a little bit of style thrown in though, just look at this place. Tony would front most of the money for the project, believing that if he could accelerate the connectedness, the collusion, and the co-learning that one experiences at a rave, only in an urban environment, then productivity, innovation, and growth, as well as happiness, would fall into place. He wanted this place to be a place of improvised interaction as well as spontaneous connection. The spontaneous interaction would spur on innovation. People would then inherently discuss what was going well as, and maybe even more importantly, what was going poorly. New friendships would be formed. Teams would be formed through people who realized they ultimately needed someone else's help to achieve their goals. Ideas would flow. Everyone would know what was going on in town because they all interacted with one another. And everyone would be in a position to impact the town in their own way. And so, with these ideas in mind, Tony began taking the knowledge that he learned from creating 2 successful startup businesses and began creating a city in Las Vegas. But one very important question still remained. Could the rules and lessons learned from creating a startup venture actually translate into the laws of an urban environment? To find out, Tony invested $350 million of his own money to turn his dreams into a reality. Using the knowledge that he gained through Venture Frogs, Tony invested $50 million of that early seed money into early stage tech startups with a focus on those that were willing to move to the Las Vegas area. You see, the value was actually twofold for Tony. The startups that did well would ultimately provide another revenue arm for the city, and therefore the city could generate enough revenue to keep on investing in new companies, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And so on and so forth.
And the startups that moved to Las Vegas would provide employment opportunities, as well as services for the community that generated excitement for this fledgling community. Another $50 million of the original funding would go to traditional businesses, non-tech related, small business types of things that are traditionally found in city centers. Think of bars, coffee shops, grocery stores, and other retail environments that would not only provide employment opportunities for early adopters of the downtown project movement, but would also serve as very important communal gathering places for the city's new inhabitants. And believe it or not, it was actually in these very same shops, bars, restaurants, and coffee houses that most of the spontaneous interaction, which Tony viewed as imperative to his new city, actually ended up taking place. Tony, being a huge proponent of the value of culture, as he discussed thoroughly in his own book on Zappos, as well as his affinity for the pluriculture, allocated another $50 million to arts, education, and the development of culture within the city. The physical environment in which the city's inhabitants would live was, in Tony's eyes, equally as important to the feelings that the citizens would experience while living in the community. It was Tony's dream to build a place where people had relationships with one another and felt truly happy to not only be with each other, but happy because of the sense of community that they had helped to build together. Indeed, he wanted everyone, every single day, to always feel as though they were as welcomed as he felt when he first stepped into his very first rave. And one of Tony's key ideas was to create one giant apartment building where most of the city's inhabitants would live. Think of it as kind of like your college dorm from freshman year, where everyone knew everyone who lived in the same hall as them, everyone knew most of the people who lived in the building, and whenever you were home, you were expected to leave your door open. And if you saw that the door was open, you were more than welcome to venture into anyone's apartment that you saw fit. Everyone got along, everyone knew everyone, and everyone was happy, genuinely curious about everyone else's life. The last $200 million of Tony's investment was dedicated to real estate. Downtown Project bought over 60 acres of land in downtown Las Vegas to build this city as a startup. In 5 years, Tony believed Downtown Project would be the co-working capital of the world, the shipping container capital of the world, and the fire capital of the world. To execute this plan required people. Lots of them, yes, but not just any of them. Tony wanted young, open-minded people who were comfortable with risk as well as comfortable enough to pick up their startups and even their lives to move across the country into the middle of the desert. However, unfortunately, living every day like a rave wasn't for everyone who came to this fledgling city. Many young entrepreneurs who picked up their entire lives to start their businesses here in the desert felt that upon their arrival, there was no support structure in place to actually help them and teach them how to start and grow a business. In fact, citizens oftentimes complained about feeling exhausted from the heavy amounts of partying that was taking place throughout the entire city. Not only that, but the obligation they felt to constantly be in public, to be seen having a good time, to be seen experiencing this new city for all that it had to offer, and to be part of the connectedness which Tony Shea wanted permeating throughout his Utopia. It was believed necessary to always be seen as an integral part of the city and the community, so that you could always impress Tony and therefore keep the funding for your startup. Few found the solace to rest, and the constant music being played only made it harder for those in the community to get enough sleep to wake up and begin working on time. Amy Groth, the author of this really great book, The Kingdom of Happiness, inside Tony Shea's Zapponian Utopia, said DTP's strategy was to place bets on a number of ventures. After a couple of years, certain startups began to run out of funding and were unable to secure a second round of investments.
What happened really was Tony lost interest in his vision, and when he lost interest, everyone else started to lose interest as well.
And so, as money got tight and expectations only seemingly increased with very little help from leadership of Downtown Project, some very unfortunate and sad events began taking place. 3 prominent entrepreneurs committed suicide in 2014, and Downtown Project additionally laid off 10% of their employees. Many blame the struggles of DTP and its failure to its citizens on greed, overexuberance, and a lack of leadership. Yet, it could still also be argued that the world was so harsh on Downtown Project and Tony Shea because of the grandiose vision with which he painted Downtown Project. This idealistic utopia in which everyone would be included, yet still hadn't been attained. But all of this bad news doesn't mean that progress isn't still being made. Even after the death of Tony Shea in late 2020, Downtown Project is still involved in and directly owns numerous hospitality and event venues, small businesses, real estate deals, shops, entertainment, and festivals in downtown Las Vegas. Only time will tell if this utopian attempt will actually be successful, but being around 9 years after its founding is still promising. It may be too early to offer a true perspective on Downtown Project, but the purpose of this channel is to learn, share, and inspire. I think it's truly inspiring what Tony attempted to do, even if it wasn't always perfect and experienced some truly dark days. It's my hope that others will learn from this attempt, and that we, as a collective society, will be able to grow and not become discouraged in our pursuit of perfection. After the passing of Tony in late 2020, Downtown Project still vows to continue his original vision, to create a startup as a city, one that continually adapts, improvises, and improves. One which is built upon a culture of peace, love, unity, and respect, where everyone is free to share ideas, interact with one another, and be human. And there you have it. That's the attempt of Downtown Project. Still going on today. And next time you're in Vegas, don't just hit the slot machines, go on out and check it out. And in memory of Tony, my question for you today is, who was your favorite entrepreneur growing up? I'd love to hear it, and feel free to share your thoughts down in the comments below. Don't forget to follow me on social media so you stay up to date on all things Utopia. Feel free to leave a like on the video if you actually enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't yet so you can always get the latest info on when a new video comes out. Speaking of videos, here's another one that you can watch in case you're new to the channel, or you just want to rewatch some great Utopia. I'll see you next time, guys, and as always, remember that the future is out there.